All right, guys, like I've been talking about all show, super excited to get one of my favorite people in the garage finally to sit down with us in studio. The guy whose story's not told enough, the guy who people need to know all about. To my right, Mr. BJ McLeod.
Yeah, thanks for having me in, man.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in studio. And I just wanted to come chop it up with you for 15, 20 minutes.
Sounds good to me.
Because there is so much more to the story than people see on a broadcast to this guy right here.
Yeah, we've been telling the story for, I'm 39. My first race, I was 2.5 years old, so it's been going a little while.
You know what? A lot of things I love about BJ McLeod, but one of which is like you know for certain that you are going to win a race, whether it's Xfinity, whether it's Cup. Like there are some guys who are in it for like a business venture, which obviously there's reasons you're doing that as well. But like you are no slouch behind the wheel. Multiple time winner growing up, Orlando Speed World, and the list goes on and on. People just assume that, you, myself, we run in the back because we're not as talented. That's not the case sometimes, which is what I'm excited to talk to you about. But you have not let go of the fact that you are, by God, going to win you a NASCAR race.
Yeah,
How do you see that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, I just don't look at it not happening. I just, if I wake up one day and I tried and I realize that I am too old and I feel like I can't drive to the top of my ability anymore, then I haven't won a race. It is what it is, but at least I tried my entire life to do what I wanted to do. So, that's why I don't ever look back, but it's definitely been a fun journey trying to get there. And there's a lot of stories told along the way. And I think for us, I believe that, my wife tells me every now and then, she's like, you need to realize that you do win in some ways already.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't see that because I want to race really. I mean, like you want to race better. I want to race like you, like where you're at, the things you're doing right now, stuff you did last year. Like I look at that like, okay, I just want to get to being as competitive as Corey and the Spire group and pulling stuff off like they do. And then as soon as if I was able to get there, the first thing I would think is what you think now.
Yeah.
I want to win.
Need a little more.
Yeah. It's just our nature, right? Because that's the only way we made it to the level we're at now is having that mentality and that drive and the determination to make that happen. That's why. So you're never satisfied, but it's something that, I enjoy chasing, and I do listen to her now more than ever and pay attention to the fact that there are several things we've succeeded at, and not winning a race is not everything, but it's still extremely important to me.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're both competitive guys who want to be successful, and the way you can quantify success is by winning races, right? But you've won over 100 super late model races. If you were racing in Florida and you were racing a super late modified, like you were the guy they had to beat. So you have had a bit of an unconventional route to being a Cup driver. Obviously, you own part of Live Fast. That's been a grind to just build that through the Xfinity Series. And you have found yourself, along with Matt Tifft and Joe Falk, as one of the 16 charter owners. So what is one, how did you get here? And two, why'd you do it?
I think when I was younger, to try to sum this up as quick as I can, I just dreamed of being a race car driver. That's it. And, honestly, very young, it was Indy cars is what I wanted to drive. And
you're a little bit too big to drive Indy cars.
Yeah. Well, so I figured that out at age 8 when I was 5'5" and 160 pounds. Right. So I switched. I truly switched because of passion, not just because of size, but I wanted to be in stock cars before age 10 for the rest of my life. That was my dream. So, trying to get to that level, I just dreamed of being a race car driver. So then it was like, go win as many races as you can win. I was fortunate enough to have parents who took me to racetrack every weekend, put a lot of money into me racing and making sure I had good equipment. And we did. We went and won. I'd say we won at least 1 out of 3, somewhere in that area. So it, it started on the path of, I'm just going to be a driver and I'm going to make it. Right. So, I got a chance to come test a car for the Herzogs at an ASA test in 2001. It was when Jimmy was leaving the Nationwide car. I think at the time it was a Busch Series car, and I got a chance to test that deal, and I actually did pretty well. And they were gonna put me in, and there were some things.
Where was the test at?
So the test was actually at Concord. And
that's right.
It was a blast.
Did you hold it wide open through the dog leg?
Yeah, I was one of 2 there at the test that did it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I actually ran 70. They had me do a 75 lap run, and I varied 2 laps, I varied 2/10, and I told them I made mistakes on the downhill into what you call 3, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I ran the other 73 laps, never varied more than 400s, and I was 16 or 17 at this time, somewhere in that area. So I got the shot to move up to go test at that time. I think it was Busch car, and it was odd because there were some agents mixed up in it and some other stuff that I won't go into details. But regardless, I was in a position where I was going to have to get rid of the person that had represented me, that had got me the opportunity. And bottom line was, I just wasn't going to do it. So I turned down the deal. It had nothing to do with Herzogs. I want to be clear about that. It was all agents in the background. But regardless, it ruined the one opportunity that I had to make it right then. It sent me back to Florida, right? So that decision I'm fine with, and I'm still fine with it today. I'm actually happier because I've always had a soft pillow, and it's because I treat people right. So, we turned that into.
Does it have skulls on it?
Actually,
hopefully not spikes.
So we looked at a bed that has a big skull on the back part of it.
Does it blow flames out whenever you lay down?
No flames. But regardless, I had to regroup, and I just went back home and started winning super late model races because it's what I loved. And at that time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to race super late models. I'm not going to chase NASCAR. Not going to try to make it. Not going to do any of that. Just going to win and build businesses. So got fortunate enough to get kicked off on an excavating type demolition, just side deal that I ran myself, and ended up working towards owning more stuff like that. And through that time, I just realized that my passion was racing, and that's what I wanted to go after. So that's when we ended up years later switching to driver development, because I'd been an instructor at Finish Line Racing School, and I had sent kids that were coming to that school to teams that are up here now and other teams in Florida to learn how to drive. And I was like, you know what? I build race cars. I built them since I was 12. Like, I might as well build some cars and keep the kids working with me and develop them through. So one thing that's really cool about my life is the first one that committed to me was Scott Heckert, and the second one that committed to me was Matt Tift.
That's
and
cool.
now I own a cup team with them, right? So it just shows that, if you treat people right, good things happen. And that's where, working with them, 13 years ago, Scott raced for us, if not last year, the year before, I can't remember, right? Somewhere. Yeah. So regardless, it's been fun on this journey. And we started that to start building revenue to build teams, because I wanted to be the one that, owned the team and could decide when I drove and how many times I drove, and if I could find the right sponsorship. So, that was really the direction that switched me to actually pushing the team owner side, was to secure being a driver at the same time, because the sport's very tough. It's a hard sport to survive a year, and let alone 10 or 20. I mean, it's difficult.
No doubt. So you start acquiring some Xfinity cars so you could race yourself. But at what point did your focus kind of shift to realizing what the long-term potential value of owning a NASCAR charter was?
So I want to give Jessica credit again. She told me in 2016, when we actually were about halfway through the season in Xfinity that year, she said, we need to get a charter. And I'm like,
which was like the second or third year?
Second year. Okay. It started. So it's actually the first year I believe it operated. 15 was when they were conceived. But I just thought it was funny that she said it, and I actually looked up an old text because I didn't believe her, and we were arguing about it one day, and I'm like, she's right, because I sent somebody a text asking to try to buy the charter, right? So anyway, we had that idea back in 16. We didn't have the infrastructure in place. We didn't have the building in place. We had a lot of work to do, and probably would have never come through if I could have got an opportunity to buy it. But the idea was there then, and we knew that if we wanted to be here long term, that's where we wanted to go. So then the mission was really just build up people, because number one thing is having great people for the team and the business to be able to succeed. So we used Xfinity for those, for the last 7 or 8 years to build up and get familiar with the, being gone 33 weeks a year with Xfinity, and Cup's 38, right? So just getting used to everything and trying to get the right people in place. We bought a building. We did other things. We got several haulers now. Like, we did a lot of stuff. And along the way, we got to help some really cool kids and have fun racing, right? And I actually haven't drove for my Xfinity team very much at all. Like, it's been other people most of the time. So really enjoyed all that. And then we were in place when COVID came and the next gen car was coming, and there were some owners wanting to get out, and it was just the right time. And I remember riding back from Atlanta when they sent us home. I was in the passenger seat of a minivan with the hoodie over my head, just kind of half asleep. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use whatever time we're off to go buy a charter. And we had one secured in about 2.5 months. We had a deal.
Man.
So it's kind of wild.
How many people have you been able to like keep from your Xfinity team to groom to be on your Cup team?
Right now, there's 2 that were on 3 that were on my Xfinity team all the way back to 2016.
Deal, man.
Yeah, it's my crew chief right now. I met him when I was 8 years old. He's from Central Florida, same place I'm from, 15 minutes away. When I started Xfinity team, he had been up here working on different teams for 2 decades, and I called him and I'm like, I want you to be a part of whatever I build. And he's like, I'll be there tomorrow. So
That's cool.
It's been a cool story.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you're proud about to the point of your career now? And also, what are some things you're excited about for the future of where we're going?
Yeah, I remember my first truck race in 2010, and I parked on pit road after the race, and I sat there for, probably a couple minutes, and I was like, may never run another race because I only had money for one race at that time. And I remember that feeling. And now every week I'm like one of the last ones to get out of the car on pit road. And the reason why is I do that every time because I tell myself this race might be the last one. That way you stay driven and keep working to be better because yes, I have over 300. I think I'm close to 350 starts now, and over 100 of them, I think probably 120, 130 are in Cup. And I was very, very thankful and thought of it as an awesome achievement to be able to run one truck race, right? And it's like I just always have focused on making sure that I didn't forget what it meant to be in NASCAR, right? Because you can say what you want, you can do what you want. These drivers are incredible. The teams are incredible. The people that make up the teams are unbelievable. Everybody in this industry, from NASCAR teams, drivers, fans, it's all elite. It's all awesome. It's great to be a part of. And I make sure I remind myself of what challenge it is to get there, and that we did get there, and that we have run so many races. So that's one of the things I'm proud of. Looking forward, it's really the drive I've had in the last 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, is more than I've ever had. I have more determination.
Why is that?
I don't know. I can't answer it. Like, it's just, I think that, it's just maybe the point of being
now, is that drive to become a better race car driver? Or is that drive to make the team better? Is that drive to everything?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's something I have to work on parallel because they're both incredibly important to me. I love being a race car driver, but I love being a successful business owner too. And any NASCAR Cup Series owner is a business owner. So it's cool to try to build them both at the same time. But I'm very, very driven to get the success on track from a driver standpoint and an owner standpoint. I'm very, very out of patience of running 30th. Let me put it that way. So with this next gen car, I was 35th or 36th last year, every race on speed except 2. Right. And it's like, that's tough to swallow.
And what are some of the things explained out of like what sort of technology or resources you guys don't have for the setup of the car, essentially what it translates to?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult being a small team because, there's a thing called a key partner, I guess is the term you would use. And it's, we have to dig a lot harder to get information and
aero notes,
and
tire data.
And with this new car, the aero is unreal, man.
Dude,
like
you're 60 thousandths of a round away from being good or bad.
You are. And you'll be in the first time I had a really, really bad car, I'm like, we need to go back shop and rebuild it. And then they changed one round on the right rear on height. And I'm like, wow, we're okay. It's like, it blows your mind because every time in my life of driving anything I've ever driven, something that felt like that, you go back and change springs, bump stops, shock shims. Like, I mean, you're way out in left field. And this thing is very aero sensitive, especially underneath. And it's difficult to get a hold of, but at the same time, that's one of the cool things about it.
We talk about it at length, like the gap between Xfinity and Cup. What are some of the hard parts, not just from the driving standpoint, but for team owning, making that leap? Like, what were some of the growing pains of that?
I really think for us, it was a little bit easier than some people because Xfinity, we were able to survive because we hunted scuff tires and we shared a pit crew across 2 cars, and we brought pit boxes that, weren't really up to standards. We saved money in a lot of areas, and all that takes a lot of work to do that, to be able to keep going. With Cup, you either can afford to do it the right way or you don't show up.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I've actually enjoyed the Cup side and felt like, I'd say the hardest thing for us was the capital up front to get next gen cars, right? Like they're very expensive, but I like it because I can look forward to knowing that I have the same pieces. If we figure out how to put them together, right, I have the same pieces as the car winning the race. And 3 years ago, you couldn't even come close to saying that. So that's something that I enjoy about it. But I really feel like our switch over from Xfinity to Cup was really easier for us because now you can either afford to be there or you can't. There's no saving money.
Well, it's like when you own a Cup team, I feel like the way I look at it now with the charter, when you own a Cup team, when you're done, you have something to sell.
Absolutely.
Where with the Xfinity team, when you're done, it goes to an auction and you get pennies on the dollar. So I was wondering that. I was like, I just think it's very fascinating, like what you do. And like, I remember having a conversation with you in Vegas. We brought the 12 Xfinity car and you're like, hey man, you didn't even know. You're like, how many more times you guys are going to race that car? Because I got to know how many cars to bring to the racetrack.
I actually remember that conversation now that you mentioned it.
Yeah,
I remember it
like,
exactly. Yeah. Worried about making the race.
Yeah.
It's like, because you guys bring, A-class cars and we know we're not going to out-qualify that car. And it's like, do I have to worry about telling whoever's driving my car, hey, we might go home that weekend? Like, that's the life we lived for several years.
So there's a million different ways I'd love this conversation to go, but I wanted to go current events, where we're at as a sport, behind the wheel. The Ross and Noah fight.
Yeah.
When you watched it, what'd you think?
First off, this is a weird subject, right? Because I like the entertainment, aspect of it. I think it's fun for our fans to watch. I also get concerned because if you let the right people start fighting, people are going to get hurt and you're going to be in the hospital, right? Like this is, it's a serious subject that I take a pretty strong stance on. I do not believe we should be allowed to hit one another out of the car. I totally do not agree with it. I am a big MMA fan. I love watching fighting, and there's a reason why there's weight classes. There's a reason why there's a ref. There's a reason why there's a cage. There's a reason why you're medically cleared to fight. You're fresh when you go in there. You're not getting out of a car after 3.5 hours and trying to figure out which direction you're pointed and, the fumes and stuff we deal with. Sometimes it's like you can't get in a fight and get hit hard or get hit right and really take a chance on hurting someone. So
what you're saying is we need to set up a ring in the infield ball field and put sock and boppers on our hands.
So if this is the thing, if you put some big old gloves on, then you're not going to get hurt, right? And make sure the pit crew members are nowhere near you.
That's what I don't like either.
Yeah, I'm not fighting anybody. Look at me.
Yeah, if you let those pit crew members get,
I'm definitely not fighting you, especially with the boots on.
Look at that ring. That's something that should be impaled in my forehead.
I actually do race with it on too.
I know, because you give me knuckles. I'm like, dude, the hand hurts now.
Take that thing off. That's not SFI.
Yeah, so
left side weight, fucking tugging on that thing.
I think for me, it would be cool. I definitely would support it if we had gloves and stuff. People wouldn't get hurt, but I don't want to see somebody get hurt for real, right? Yeah. And if the security guard doesn't get in the way of Ross and Noah, I'm friends with both of them, right? Noah's gonna hurt Ross in maybe 45 seconds, right? I think
you can actually hurt Ross. He's like a legit Florida man.
Yeah, well,
you're a Florida man yourself.
Exactly.
It takes one to know one.
And it's like I'm just saying there's a 35-pound weight difference, right? Yeah. And if Noah waited till he caught his breath, I'm sitting there watching him on the side after he gets out of the car with the videos, and I'm like, he waited till he got his breath up, like he was ready to go, right? And Ross is just sitting there debriefing, like no intentions of fighting somebody. Did a heck of a job. I mean, he clocked him good, but you see also with the weight difference, it didn't rock Noah, right? Like didn't even phase him. He come overhand right quick, and the security guard ate it, not Ross, right? And I don't want to see somebody get hurt.
Just got Joe Rogan here breaking his fight down. I'm about to jump in there
Affliction
too.
Sponsorship. He's showing it.
Well, the point is, I learn about all this stuff because you need to be able to defend yourself, right? And I just see a bad, I don't want to go that direction. I want to wreck one another in the cars. If I'm mad at you, I'm going to wreck you. If you get out and try to fight me, I'm going to try to get away from you because I don't want to fight. I don't want to hurt somebody. But to me, I understand.
I think I'll live to fight on another day.
We've all been at like New Smyrna when something gets out of hand, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what, like every time a fight gets out of hand at a short track, it's like, what the are we doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like but then that being said, at our top, like I wish we had the security at New Smyrna on a Saturday night that we have at, Kansas, because the security did a great job. It got escalated. They let them talk. If someone walks up to your car after the race and grabs you,
it's
like
over.
You're gonna have to.
One of us is getting hurt.
Correct.
Right? Like I have no doubt that there's 4
and
or 5 people.
it's not going to be the guy with the skull hanging around his neck.
But here's the thing, though. One
reason
reason I'm so against it is you just don't know.
Yeah, you just
right?
don't know. Yeah.
So I'm 240 pounds right now. Okay, 6'1". So
how much lead does your car have?
It's pretty low. My crew chief complains about it all the time. I actually don't know
Are
the
you
number.
30 pounds heavy?
Yeah, I'm not heavy, but it's definitely not a lot of ballast to move around.
Yeah, they
right?
probably have a couple pencils in your left side door.
But Bubba Pollard and Jimmy Blewett win races. That's
no doubt.
Yeah, but where I'm going with it is, anybody 170-ish or up can knock me out with one hit. Right now, the little guys know they definitely don't have a chance. I can stand there and just eat punches, no problem, because they don't know what they're doing. But if you get like McGregor, he's fought at 135, right? I would be scared to death.
Oh.
I would run as fast as I could, and it would be funny because I'm probably 4 inches tall. I don't know his height, and I outweigh him 100 pounds when he fought at that weight.
I talked to a guy that fought him once.
Yeah, really?
Eddie Alvarez.
Oh, okay.
I talked to Cowboy too.
That's
he said
cool.
that hits hard.
Oh, he's got concrete.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you just don't know, and that's why I'm not a fan of how the fights are going right now, because sooner or later somebody's going to get stitches and a tooth knocked out or something. And I mean, it's going to start getting real, and that's what I don't like.
Or worst case, hurt their hand, break their hand, not be able to race the following week. That's the worst possible thing, right? Like, there's a balance to it for sure. But something too I wanted to touch on.
Did you race with Ross in Florida?
I never did. No,
okay,
he was after
I don't
me.
know if he was that rough growing up or not.
Yeah.
Was he?
I am proud of him for standing his ground, though. And he said stop
twice,
and Noah didn't listen. And I'm like, Noah he had it coming, right?
Yeah,
Ross did everything right.
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter fan.
He covered his strong arm too, because we talked about it. He leads with the right, so you got to cover it.
Yeah.
Man did his homework.
Yeah, he did.
Something too that doesn't get talked about in the broadcast hardly ever, because most of our drivers only conversations or meetings with NASCAR are behind closed doors, and rarely does like any sort of input or stuff get out there. But people would be surprised how much respect drivers as a whole give you when you speak up in meetings. I don't know if you realize that or not.
I don't.
Yeah. When people, and you're not a man of very many words, but when you do speak up, people listen, right? And it's cool to see somebody that is making a name for themselves as an owner, as a driver, just doing the grind, speak up with the Kyle Bushes and the Kevin Harvick, and the people turn around and listen to what BJ has to say. Do you think that one, do you take a little bit of pride in that? And two, where do you think and why do you think that is?
Well, definitely going back to earlier, you asked some of the successes. One of them I didn't mention was if I never win a race the rest of my NASCAR career, I actually know that all the winners of our sport and all the people that are trying to win, including you, respect me as a driver and believe I can drive. And that's something 3 years ago I wouldn't have said. Okay, like I wouldn't have known that other people think that. But since, and like I said, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've had several people tell me, we understand what you're driving, keep trying, just keep working, you can wheel, like just different times, different comments. And that means the world to somebody like me from people that have won races and championships in our sport and the level you're racing at right now. Like it's just, it's big and it's a huge success, and I absolutely appreciate it. It's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life to earn the respect of the NASCAR garage. That is something that is unbelievably important to me. I think the reason why is everybody there, like everybody's got this idea at short tracks that, and I've seen it when I was racing, that you can't make it unless you got a huge check. You can't make it unless you got this or that. You can't, right? It's not. Everybody there will support you if you work hard. Absolutely. You need money. It takes money to race cars, right? But you have to work and get it, right? Like you have to figure it out. There's ways to get it without mom and dad writing a check, right? And right now, I think the drivers in the garage, the teams in the garage, the people in the garage that work on the cars, they've seen how much work and dedication and determination I've put in over the last decade and a half, and they appreciate it and they respect it.
Bro,
and,
you might be working
and they
harder
like
than
it.
anybody.
Yeah, it's
People that realize people that know, or somebody that's loaded their own race car up and hauled it to the racetrack.
Yeah.
You might be working harder than anybody.
yeah.
Well, and you mentioned it, and that's something too of like, you know, to your point, it takes a lot of money to make it, and you have to get the right brakes at the right time, but those doors don't open unless you turn the knob.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also the racing community, as much as everybody's competitors, there's so many guys such as yourself. For me, as a person like Robbie Benton when he owned his Xfinity team, of just asking for things. And those people are so willing to say yes. Mm-hmm. But if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right? So who were some people when you were growing up just starting that you were just asking and they were happy to help out?
Well, you know, if you're talking about NASCAR times, like first one's Mike Hillman Sr., basically the whole Hillman family. Like they did everything they could, and they couldn't have done that without the Germains. Mm-hmm. Germains always said okay or helped me or did whatever, you know, they
another Florida guy, right?
Yeah. So, you know,
Florida Mafia,
that was the start.
Together.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, Bobby Daughter.
Well,
I can remember
nuttier and squirrel. That's why they run together.
I can remember going into Bobby Daughter's office in 2009, probably 2010, and aggravating him every day. Please let me start and park a truck. Like, please, just, you know, wearing them out. And then, you know, Rick Ware for the Cup car, right? Like, as soon as I seen Rick had a Cup car in 2017, I was like, hey, man, let me run that car. And his
Is Rick
family
from Florida too?
No,
oh, okay.
No, he's completely on the other side. But you know, I really pushed and worked hard to get these people to say yes. And Johnny Davis, you know, same thing with him. And you know, there's other Carl Long. I've called him and asked to drive. There's ones I'm not remembering right now, but those are the ones that I remember me aggravating to the point that I really think a couple of them said yes because they knew I could drive. Right,
and they just wanted you to stop calling them.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually believe a couple of them were that way. They're like, you know what? If he wants it that bad, let's see it.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yep.
I have to ask an important question.
Ask.
I could lead with a story, but then I have to ask a question. So we were in Daytona racing the road course. I'm changing tires for Brad Keselowski. You're next to us. You weren't driving. You had somebody in your car. You're on top of your pit box. Me and my jackman Pat are talking, and he has both earbuds out. I have one in, thankfully. And he says, would you believe that BJ McLeod has Affliction flip-flops on? Where the hell do you find it? Because you're an Affliction partner now, right? Yeah. He said, where do you find Affliction flip-flops?
Where do you find boots?
We're talking about this. We're talking about this. And Brad misses the last chicane.
No.
And he's on pit road. Thank God I had one earbud on. We were talking about your Affliction flip-flops. We almost missed the damn pit stop.
That's funny, man. That's a good story.
I tell you that story.
How does toes look?
I don't know.
Does a man have nice
Affliction flip-flops. I tell you that
got
story
nice toes, BJ?
because the question, like, I have to know this. You graduated at 16, 2000, from Highland County Christian School with honors.
Yep.
You don't. Where does this style come from?
You know,
that's a great question.
I gotta know.
No, it is, and I wish I could answer it. Right? Like I remember, Mom said, "Always be different." Right? I can remember I was 5 years old. She's like, don't dress like everybody else. Don't look like everybody else. Just be different. Like be what makes you feel good. Right. And I don't know why, but I liked skulls when I was 5. Like I would walk through the mall and I had to have a t-shirt with a skull on it or a bracelet with a skull on it. Right. Like I just always liked skulls, and it's turned into tattoos and, you know, all kinds of my emblem for BJMM's got a skull in it, and it has no special meaning behind it. It just is what I like, and the way it looks, it's cool. I enjoy it, and I like the way it feels. So
love that.
That's just why I do it. And the flip-flops, I'm like, you know, if I had made it back in 2001 and been able to win a championship or, you know, do all this cool stuff that other people were able to do, if I had done that, I'd have been wearing whatever I was told to wear that whole time.
Yeah.
You know what? These last 20 years, I've wore whatever I wanted when I wanted.
Love
and now owning the team, I run a Cup car and I dress how I want. Right. Like it was cool. We got Blaster for a sponsor last year. And first thing they did was send me polos with skulls on them. I was like, that's the coolest sponsor.
Yes.
Right.
Know your audience.
They did.
Yeah.
They said it straight to me. I'm like, that's so awesome. So it was
maybe
cool.
your wife gave him a hint though, like, hey, they kind of like skulls.
Yeah. I don't think you'd have to ask her. It's pretty well out there.
So I want to land the plane by asking you this, and also some 3 questions afterwards. But how can you now as a team owner work all the leverage and connections you have currently, owning a car in the Cup garage, owning several Xfinity cars? We saw, was it Chase Briscoe ran a Live Fast car at Charlotte last year, hauled ass.
BJMM, yeah. It was 2 years ago.
Okay, 2 years ago. Somewhat of conjunction with Stuart Haas, right? There's been a lot of help throughout the garage of people wanting to help you out. How can you find yourself in a damn race car we can see you up front winning a race? Whether it be on Saturday, Sunday's hard because there's 30 cars that go in a car race. But Saturday, how can we get you in? How can we get a good car in there for you?
I'm finishing building relationships with my partners currently and working on things every day to get to where I can go and get a car from RCR and try to go win an Xfinity race, right? And it's like
At what track would you pick?
Darlington, hands down, first one. Like Vegas sticks out in my head because it's got some characteristics to it now that you really have to pen 3 and 4.
Yep.
It's like it's turned into a fun mile and a half, right?
Yep.
So there's a couple that I'm definitely after, but it will not be a short track. Like I've won I don't know how many short track races in my life, a lot.
Got that trophy.
I want to win at a mile and a half or Dover. Like I'd love to have a monster. That'd be cool. Like, that's the idea right now is finishing building. We got to keep showing our partners what we return to them, and we're doing a great job at it. And that's, a lot due to Matt Tift, but he's very committed to trying to help me win a race in Xfinity, or, if we can pull off one at a Speedway in a Cup car, who knows, right? But it's like the Xfinity right now, we want to go back and try to run. I'd like to run 5 races a year competitively with a car from RCR and try to win a race. That's my goal as a driver right now.
That would be pretty cool. And hope
Chevy team, your Chevy partner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's running a Chevy truck this week. Could get his first national win. Maybe we'll put a good word in with Bono for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually I've run by a TJ in the garage and said, I may try to drive that thing one day.
Dude, that would be great. That would be great to see. Just a flat black truck with a skull on the front.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Crossbones, no number, just X.
That would be cool.
Bone X.
I don't think that's making it past the approval process.
No, but that's when you send what you're supposed to get approved, and then be like, comes out with smoke, backs out, red lights.
Yeah.
3 questions I ask all of our guests, and you, sir, are no different. If you had to pick one type of race car, era, Cup car, whatever, and one racetrack to race at the rest of your life, what do you go with?
So I'm going to say Darlington, but I'm going to say, I really have to go back to probably a late 90s, early 2000 Cup car.
Okay.
But I want the most horsepower, and I don't remember the rule packages, but I think the top horsepower was like before 04.
I was going to say 03.
Yeah.
Like the twisted bodies.
Yeah. I want all that decked out, and I want to run Darlington every week.
Yes.
Love that.
That
the man wants the smoke.
Yes. I want
all the smoke.
Yeah. Narrow ass corners, try to figure it all out.
Yeah, you're talking what was that? 01 with Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch?
Yeah.
That, for sure. All right, love that answer. What's your most embarrassing moment at the racetrack?
I don't know. I'd have to think. There's been a couple, right?
I don't know if you told us the one on the record you were driving a super late model and you couldn't see where you're going.
Yeah, so we could do that one. That's a funny one. I was 13 running my first super late model race at Orlando Speed World. And my head literally was like an inch above the door. My eyes were below the door. I was looking it felt like I was looking in the sky trying to race this thing. And I finished top 10 my first race.
Imagine where you finished if you could see where you're going.
Yeah. I know. Well, I finally talked my dad into it. He's like, because I was 185 pounds at 13 years old. He's like, you got to be on the floor and all the way to the left. And I'm like,
he's not wrong.
I can't see. I've got to be able to see.
Go by feel, son.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he said. And he's like, oh, by the way, you're not getting power steering. He's like, we're going to do this without power steering. That way I don't have to hear that.
No wonder why triceps are
you gotta drive with your ass. How many times you heard that? You gotta drive this thing with your ass.
No, you gotta look.
It's the truth, though, right? Like you learn that way. You get in things and you go fast, right? So anyway, I come off the track at Orlando, go down the hill, make a right, and then I hit a trash can. And trash goes everywhere. People see it, laughing at me, and I'm like, that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
All right, I like that one. So third question: if you had to take all of your racing memories and lose everyone but one, which one do you keep?
I'd say pulling on the track at Daytona for the first time in a Cup car. Like that was a goal to get the Cup and on the Daytona 500. And pulling on the track for that race is the one I would want to keep forever.
Dude, I agree with that.
Cool.
Because you work so freaking hard
Yes.
to just get there. Because
That's
when you're
it.
on the other side of the fence, you're like, God, I just want to do that.
Yeah, and it's so far away, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you bust your ass for 2
And, well-
decades and figure it out, or 3 really for me,
Yeah.
and you get there and you're on the other side of the fence and you're like, wow, we did get here, right? And
Yeah.
it's like that's a crazy feeling that I don't ever want to forget.
I remember I was rolled to the end of pit road first practice, and Joey comes by me. Like, you could look in your mirror, right? Guys are making Q runs, and Joey goes by. I'm like, holy
Yes, it's
I'm
wild.
at the Daytona 500.
Yes,
Like, that is bizarre. Now, granted, I was the slowest car in Daytona.
Don't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You made it.
Made it.
I was faster than everybody else watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, BJ, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I could sit here and talk for an hour and a half with you.
Wow.
Guys who and fans who don't know the story, I'm sure they can appreciate you much more listening to you for just 20 minutes. But how can people go follow you guys on social media and keep up with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, the best thing is just check out the Live Fast website and obviously all the social platforms, and just keep pushing. We're all working hard, and just want to say that I'm proud of you, man. Like,
Appreciate it.
love this deal you got going on, and I've been sitting there waiting for you to win a race, because it's gonna happen, man. I feel it. It's you've been getting closer, and it's just cool to see the level you're racing at. So it's cool to get to hang out here with you, spend some time talking about cool stuff, and just rooting for you, man.
Yeah,
Will
appreciate
you
it.
come to the after party?
I absolutely
No,
will.
we're having it at his house.
Yeah.
No, we can't. If you want me to host it, I will.
Oh, my God. I'd hate to burn
No
your
doubt.
house down for the first time I've been over.
You
Sorry,
know what?
BJ.
Is what it is. It'll be a cool memory.
All right, hey, party at BJ's house whenever I win my first cup race.
There you
So,
go. Yep.
all right, hey, thanks for jumping on Stack of Pains with
Yeah.
us, buddy.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.